first hymn. My daughter-in-law, Rebecca, couldn't resist a cutting remark. Those tears aren't real. She shouldn't even be crying. Her words echoed through the quiet sanctuary, leaving a trail of shocked whispers. The church was beautiful, white lilies and soft roses, James's favorites, yet all I could taste was grief. 50 years of marriage had vanished in a heartbeat. My daughter Emily gripped my trembling hand, but no comfort could fill the space James left behind. Guests arrived in black, faces from decades past. When my son Michael walked in with Rebecca on his arm, my heart twisted. They'd skipped James's final days in the hospital, always too busy, and now Rebecca's cold smile seemed out of place among the mourners. The pastor spoke of James's life and devotion to family, but my mind wandered through memories, our wedding day, the births of our children, quiet evenings holding hands on the porch. When I stepped to the podium, my voice cracked as I honored the man who had been my partner in everything. From the corner of my eye, I caught Rebecca leaning toward a friend, lips curling in a faint smirk. Then came her sharp comment, just loud enough for others to hear. Gasps rippled through the pews. Emily bristled, ready to defend me. Michael sat frozen, saying nothing. The service ended in a haze of whispered judgments. Rebecca strode out first, chin lifted as if she'd won some secret game. But she had no idea what waited next. By James's own request, the reading of his will would follow immediately. He had always planned carefully, and he had seen through Rebecca long before I dared to. Rebecca's charm had always felt a little too polished. Her laugh was rehearsed. Her fascination with our family history almost theatrical. During one dinner early on, James gave my hand a subtle squeeze beneath the table, a quiet signal we'd shared for decades. He sensed it too. Later, when I gently voiced my unease, Michael brushed it off. "She just wants to impress you," he said. At 38, worried he might never find the right partner, he was dazzled by Rebecca's beauty and quick wit. I didn't want to stand in the way of his happiness. Their wedding was far grander than Michael had ever imagined for himself. Rebecca insisted on every lavish detail and somehow convinced my practical, careful son to drain nearly all his savings. James and I contributed what we could, but I overheard Rebecca murmuring to Michael during the reception, "Your parents don't really understand how important appearances are." Her smile never reached her eyes. The shift in Michael came slowly. Phone calls grew infrequent. Family dinners that were once a monthly ritual became rare occasions, always cut short because Michael needs his rest, or we have another engagement. His eyes often betrayed a wish to stay longer, but Rebecca's schedule left little room for family. Excuses piled up, missed birthdays, canceled holidays, forgotten anniversaries, always accompanied by polite apologies and vague promises. When Emily gave birth to her first child, Michael and Rebecca arrived 3 days late. "A charity event," Rebecca said breezily, barely glancing at her new niece. "These connections are vital for Michael's career." Over time, her words slipped into Michael's ears like slow poison. "Your parents are so set in their ways. They mean well, but they don't understand today's world." Or, "It's sweet how your mom still feels she needs to take care of you." And the most cutting, "They always make me feel like I'm not good enough for you." At first, Michael offered small defenses. Eventually, it was easier to stay silent. The real fracture came when James was diagnosed with cancer 3 years ago. The doctors were optimistic. It had been caught early, though treatment would be aggressive and costly. During a tense family meeting, Rebecca said calmly, "We should consider all options. Those treatments could drain your retirement savings. And for what? Just a few more years?" Even Michael looked startled, but Rebecca quickly softened her tone, eyes glistening. "I only want what's best," she insisted, squeezing my hand with perfectly manicured fingers. Sometimes love means hard choices. Somehow she turned cold calculation into concern, and Michael, wanting to believe her, accepted it. When James responded well to the first round of treatment, I caught a fleeting shadow in Rebecca's eyes, as if she'd expected a different outcome. Soon came the careful questions. "Have you updated your will? Is the house fully paid off? What about life insurance? Each inquiry delivered with practiced casualness. James noticed everything. One evening, after another strained dinner where Rebecca probed our finances, he led me to his study. "I need to make some changes," he said quietly, pulling a folder of legal papers from the desk. "I've been thinking about this for a while," he added. I nodded, understanding immediately. "Michael won't like it," he sighed, the lines on his face deeper than ever. "But he's not thinking clearly. Someday he'll see the truth. We have to protect him for when he finally wakes up." Over the next few months, James met with our attorney several times. He never shared every detail, only that he was setting things right. When the cancer returned last year, fiercer than before, he seemed almost calm. "Promise me something," he whispered one night as I sat beside his hospital bed. "Don't tell them about the changes until after I'm gone. Rebecca will try to push Michael into contesting it." "James, don't talk like that." "You'll beat this again," I said, though we both knew the odds. He smiled, eyes gentle. "Promise me, Tab." I promised. I honored James's request through every painful moment, the long months of hospice care, the endless goodbyes, even when Rebecca stopped visiting altogether, claiming it was too hard to watch. Michael came alone, awkward and guilty, rarely meeting my eyes. I stayed silent at the funeral despite Rebecca's cutting remarks. I stayed silent during the slow drive to the attorney's office, where James's final wishes would finally speak for him. Rebecca sat across from me now, her impatience impossible to miss. She checked her watch, sighing. "Let's hope this doesn't take long," she muttered to Michael. "We need to start planning what to do with the house. The market's hot right now." Michael only nodded, but I saw the flicker of discomfort, the small spark of the kind, thoughtful boy we'd raised. The attorney entered with a neat stack of files. Rebecca straightened instantly, a mask of solemnity settling over her features. Emily squeezed my hand under the polished table. "Before we begin," the attorney said, "Mr. Holloway left a personal letter to be read first." He handed me an envelope bearing James's unmistakable handwriting. My hands trembled as I opened it. "My dearest family," the letter began. "If you're hearing this, I've already moved on to whatever comes next. Don't be sad for long. I've lived a full life and made my peace. Before Mr. Donovan shares the legal details, I want to explain my choices. Throughout my life, I've tried to do what's right, not what's easy. This is no different. Tabitha, my love, you gave me 50 beautiful years. Everything I achieved was possible because of you. Michael, my son, I've watched with a heavy heart as you drifted from the values we tried to teach. I don't blame you. Life can lead us off course, but I hope you'll remember who you truly are. Emily, thank you for your strength and for caring for your mother. The decisions I've made may surprise some of you, but they come from a clear mind and a full heart. I want what I've built to serve a greater purpose after I'm gone. Love always, James." Tears blurred the page as I folded the letter. The room was silent except for the soft tap of Rebecca's manicured nails on the table. The attorney cleared his throat. "Now, the formal reading of the last will and testament of James Edward Holloway." Rebecca lifted her chin, a faint expectant smile touching her lips. "To my beloved wife, Tabitha Ann Holloway," the attorney read, "I leave our family home at 1423 Maple Street, free of any mortgage, along with a monthly stipend of $4,000 for the remainder of her life." I nodded, unsurprised. Our modest home held half a century of memories. "To my daughter, Emily Claire Holloway Jensen, I leave the sum of $100,000 and my collection of first edition books she has always admired." Emily's breath caught. Those volumes were priceless to her. "To my son, Michael James Holloway," the attorney continued, "I leave the sum of $10,000. Rebecca's head snapped up, her smile vanishing. "That's it?" she hissed. Michael froze, stunned. The attorney raised a hand. "However, a trust fund of $250,000 is established for my grandson, Jacob Michael Holloway, to be used exclusively for his education and well-being." Rebecca leaned forward sharply. "What does exclusively mean?" "It means," the attorney replied evenly, "that the funds can only be used for Jacob's education, health care, and essential needs. Mrs. Holloway and I are co-trustees." Color rushed to Rebecca's face. James had ensured their grandson's future, but left nothing she could control. "And for the remainder of the estate, the attorney concluded, including investments, retirement accounts, and life insurance proceeds. James Holloway directs that it be placed in the James and Tabitha Holloway Foundation, dedicated to supporting pediatric cancer research. Rebecca's silence was deafening. James's careful planning spoke louder than any of us could. Rebecca shot to her feet, eyes flashing. "This is outrageous. There must be some mistake." She turned to Michael. "Say something. This can't be legal." Michael looked as if someone had struck him. "Dad left almost everything to charity?" Mr. Donovan nodded calmly. Mr. Holloway was very clear. The foundation was something he and Mrs. Holloway discussed for years, ever since your sister Sarah passed from leukemia. At the mention of our firstborn, the ache of old grief returned. Sarah had been only 7. James and I had long dreamed of honoring her memory, but I hadn't realized he'd made it a reality. "We'll challenge this," Rebecca snapped. "Michael is his son. He deserves more." "Mrs. Holloway," the attorney said evenly, "your father-in-law anticipated a dispute. He left extensive documentation showing over $300,000 in financial help already given to Michael. Business loans, the down payment on your home, even the luxury car. If you contest, those records will become public." Rebecca's voice faltered. He can't do this." "It's perfectly legal," Mr. Donovan replied. "And in my professional opinion, unwise to contest." Emily squeezed my hand beneath the table. I wasn't surprised by James's foresight. Doing what was right, even when it was hard, had always been his way. The meeting ended soon after. Rebecca stormed out without a word. Michael lingered, looking lost. "Mom," he said quietly, "I didn't know about the foundation, or about Sarah." "There's a lot you don't know, Michael," I answered softly. "Maybe now you'll start asking the right questions." He nodded slowly and followed his wife. As Emily and I gathered our things, Mr. Donovan handed me a small envelope. "One more item," he said. Inside lay a single key and a short note in James's familiar hand. "For when you're ready. All my love, Jay." I moved through the kitchen on autopilot, making coffee after a sleepless night. The key sat on the counter, glinting under the morning light. What had James planned? The phone rang. Emily. "Mom, have you seen what Rebecca posted?" My stomach tightened. "No, what now?" "She's online claiming you manipulated Dad into changing the will. She's tagging relatives and friends." I sank into a chair. "That's absurd. Your father was sharp until the end." "I know," Emily said, anger in her voice. "But she's painting you as the villain." Within hours, messages poured in, some supportive, others questioning James's choices. A few even urged me to share the inheritance. The doorbell rang. Through the peephole I saw Michael, alone, looking worn and unshaven. I opened the door. "Mom," he began, his voice small. "We need to talk." He sat on the edge of the sofa, uneasy in his childhood home. "Rebecca wants me to challenge the will. She says Dad wasn't thinking clearly, and that you influenced him." "You mean she thinks I influenced him?" I said flatly. Michael looked ashamed. "I didn't say that, but she did. We were counting on the inheritance to clear some debts." "What kind of debts, Michael?" He looked away. "Rebecca's ventures aren't as successful as she claims. And she likes expensive things. So she expected your father's money to fix everything? That's not fair, Mom. Isn't it?" I asked quietly. "When's the last time she showed real interest in your father? Or even in you?" He had no answer. "Your father loved you," I continued, "but he wasn't blind. He saw what was happening, how she isolated you, how the requests for money never stopped." "Dad could have told me," Michael said weakly. "Would you have listened?" I asked. "Or would you have repeated everything to Rebecca, letting her convince you we were just being difficult?" Silent. "If you contest the will," I said softly, "you'll lose, and whatever relationship we have left will be lost too." Michael lowered his eyes, the weight of truth settling in the quiet room. "Is that really what you want?" I asked. "No," Michael whispered, "but Rebecca's furious. She says I have to choose between her and me. My heart ached for my son, trapped in a marriage built on control." "That isn't love, Michael. That's possession." He stood abruptly. "I should go. I just needed to see you." "Your father left something for you," I called as he reached the door. He turned confused. a chance to remember who you really are. After he left, the house felt heavy with memories. James's favorite armchair, the model trains he'd been working on, photos chronicling our life together. My gaze fell on the key James had left. What did it unlock? That evening, the doorbell rang again. Rebecca stood there in an immaculate suit, her smile all sugar. "Tabitha," she said smoothly, "we should talk, woman to woman." Curiosity overruled caution. I let her in. She scanned the living room like an appraiser. "This house has potential. With the right renovations, it could be worth a fortune." "It's not for sale," I replied. Her smile thinned. "Let's be practical. It's too big for one person. Maintaining it will be costly. Michael deserves his share of his father's estate. If you agree to contest the will, we can arrange something that benefits everyone." "Everyone meaning you," I said. "The foundation is a nice idea," she pressed, "but charity starts at home." Michael is James's only son. James knew exactly what he was doing, and so do you, Rebecca. You've never cared about this family, only about what you could take. Her expression hardened. "You've hated me from the start. You poisoned Michael against me." "No," I said quietly. "You managed that yourself." She rose, smoothing her skirt. "Fine. But remember, Michael will choose me. He always does. And when he does, you'll be alone." When she left, I sank into James's chair, her threat echoing. Was she right? The thought of losing Michael entirely tightened my chest. That night I dreamed of James. We were young again, walking the beach of our honeymoon. "Trust me," he said with that familiar smile. "Everything will be all right." I woke with tears on my cheeks, but a strange calm in my heart. Morning light spilled across the mysterious quay. My phone buzzed. A text from Michael. "Rebecca wants me to move out of state. Says there's nothing for us here." Her plan was clear. Distance him from me completely. I knew it was time. In our bedroom closet sat the small safe James had always handled. With trembling hands, I slid the key into the lock. Inside was a manila envelope bearing my name. Inside lay proof, meticulously gathered evidence of Rebecca's deception. About bank statements showing large transfers from Michael's accounts into hers. Panicking, credit card records of luxury purchases while she claimed hardship. Screenshots of messages mocking our family and calling James and me walking a TMS. Grace, a consultation letter from a divorce attorney dated 3 months earlier, revealing she planned to leave Michael once she believed the inheritance was hers. I sank into a chair, heartbreaking. James had left this to protect Michael, but using it would shatter him. The doorbell rang again. I hurried the documents back into the envelope and opened the door. Michael stood there with a small suitcase, eyes red and tired. "Mom," he said, voice raw. "Can I come in?" He collapsed onto the couch, defeated. "Rebecca and I had a fight," he admitted, his words heavy with finality. The truth, and James's last gift, waited between us. I sat beside Michael, waiting. "She wants me to cut ties with you completely," he said at last. "She told me I have to choose, her or you." He raked a hand through his messy hair. "When I wouldn't agree, she said things." "What things?" I asked quietly. His eyes shimmered. "That she never loved Dad. That she was just waiting for him to die so we'd get the money. That you and I were nothing but stepping stones to the life she thinks she deserves." I drew a slow breath. "And what did you say?" "I left." He nodded toward the small suitcase at his feet, grabbed some clothes and walked out. I didn't know where else to go. Despite everything, a fragile hope stirred in me. For the first time in years, my son had chosen to stand apart from her control, but I knew it wasn't over. "You can stay here as long as you need," I said. His gaze shifted to the envelope on the coffee table. "What's that?" I hesitated. Was it too soon? But looking at him, truly seeing him, raw and hurting, I knew James had meant for this moment. "Your father left this for me," I said, sliding the envelope toward him. "He wanted it used if necessary." Michael read in silence. Shock, disbelief, anger, then a deep, aching sorrow moved across his face. "All this time," he whispered, voice breaking, "I defended her. I believed her when she said you were trying to control me, that you didn't want me to be happy. She was convincing," I said gently. "That's no excuse." He stood pacing. I should have seen it. I should have known. I crossed to him, taking his hands so like James's. "Your father never stopped loving you. Neither did I." His shoulders sagged. How can you forgive me so easily? Because that's what parents do, I said. And because the real you, the kind, thoughtful, honest boy we raised, was never lost. Just buried for a while. He pulled me into a long hug, the first in years. For a moment, the house felt whole again. That night, after Michael settled into his old bedroom, I sat in James's chair and whispered to the empty room. You knew, didn't you? You knew she'd pushed too far. Morning brought a new message from Michael. Rebecca wants to move out of state, says there's nothing for us here. Her plan was obvious, cut him off from every tie that remained. My eyes fell on the envelope again. James's final instructions waited. Inside the safe we'd shared for decades lay the documents James had quietly gathered. Bank records showing large withdrawals from Michael's accounts into Rebecca's name. Credit card statements filled with luxury purchases while she claimed hardship. Screenshots of private messages mocking our family, calling us walking ATMs, and plotting to profit after James's death. A consultation letter from a divorce attorney, dated just 3 months earlier, proving she intended to leave Michael once she believed the inheritance was hers. James had seen everything coming. He'd left the proof to protect our son and grandson. The doorbell rang again. Michael stood there, suitcase in hand, eyes red-rimmed. Rebecca wants me to choose, he said. I couldn't stay. We spoke for hours. Over coffee, he revealed his biggest fear. She'll use Jacob against me. She's already threatened to keep him from me. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Emily's urgent voice came through. Mom, she's on social media saying Michael abandoned her and Jacob. She's telling everyone he's unstable. Michael's jaw tightened. Enough. He began typing, reading aloud as he wrote. I've stayed silent out of respect for my father, but I can't anymore. My marriage has been built on deception and manipulation. My parents saw what I refused to see. Dad, if you're watching, I finally understand. I'm sorry it took so long. He hit post. Supportive messages poured in within minutes, alongside a stream of furious texts from Rebecca. She says she'll take Jacob and disappear, Michael said, his voice taut. She won't, I replied, meeting his eyes with steady resolve. Your father made sure of that. What do you mean? I placed the envelope between us. James Holloway was always 3 steps ahead. He left us a roadmap. As I explained the careful plan James had crafted, the documentation, the legal protections for Jacob, I felt a warmth spread through me. My husband might be gone, but his love and foresight still guarded this family. For the first time since his diagnosis, the weight on my shoulders lifted. James had known this day would come, and he had prepared us to face it together. We still had challenges ahead, but we would face them together, mother and son, guided by the quiet wisdom James left behind. Rebecca had underestimated us all. James with his patient foresight, me with steady resolve, and Michael, whose true character was finally shining through. Her influence was finished. That night, as Michael and I turned the pages of old family photo albums, my phone chimed with a message from Mr. Donovan. Papers filed as per James's instructions. Court date set for custody hearing. Rebecca has been served. Michael and I exchanged a look of cautious hope. The fight wasn't over, but for the first time, we were united. 1 year after James's funeral, the backyard buzzed with laughter. 8-year-old Jacob chased a butterfly across the freshly cut grass. Michael worked the grill James had loved, while Emily arranged a bright platter of fruit. The last 12 months had been hard but transformative. Rebecca had not surrendered quietly. She contested the divorce with surprising ferocity, spreading lies about Michael's mental health, pleading financial hardship, even trying to turn Jacob against his father. But James's carefully gathered evidence told the true story. Hidden bank transfers, luxury purchases disguised as necessities, messages plotting to leave once she thought the inheritance was hers. The court awarded Michael primary custody, with Rebecca limited to supervised visits until counseling was complete. Soon after, she moved out of state with a new partner. Her visits grew sporadic, and Jacob's life began to settle into something warm and stable. Mom, Michael called from the grill, flipping a burger just the way his father once taught him. I smiled, proud of the quiet strength he'd found. Over the year, he had shed the passivity of his marriage and grown into the thoughtful, confident man we'd always known was there. Jacob dashed over, holding up a caterpillar. Can we keep it and watch it turn into a butterfly? Of course, I said. Your grandfather would have loved that. He always collected interesting little creatures when your dad was your age. Jacob beamed, revealing a gap where his front tooth had been. Dad says Grandpa James knew everything about nature. He knew quite a lot, I agreed, feeling that familiar, soft ache whenever James's name was spoken. The pain had mellowed with time, no longer a sharp wound, but a gentle reminder of a life well lived. After lunch, while the children played a board game on the patio, Michael helped me clear the dishes. We worked in companionable silence until he reached into his pocket and held out a small, worn leather notebook. I think it's Dad's journal, he said. My breath caught. James had carried that notebook everywhere during his final year, filling it with quiet reflections. I had thought it lost. Have you read it? I asked. Michael shook his head. Didn't feel right without you. We sat together at the kitchen table and opened it. On the first page, dated shortly after his diagnosis, James had written in his familiar, slanted hand, I've been thinking about legacy, not money or property. Those are just things. The real legacy is in the values we pass down, the lessons we teach, and the love we share that continues after we're gone. I read the words aloud, my voice soft. Michael listened, eyes shining as he wiped away a tear. Page after page revealed the thoughts and hopes of the man who had quietly prepared us for a future without him. Proof that his greatest gift was never wealth, but the enduring strength of family. Michael's shoulders shook as silent tears fell. He knew, he whispered. He knew I was trapped, and he found a way to free me. I reached across the table and held his hand. Your father always saw more than he shared. He believed in you, even when you doubted yourself. That evening, as the sun dipped below the backyard where James and I had spent countless summer nights, I sat on the porch swing he built decades ago. The journal lay open in my lap, its final entry, written just 3 days before his passing. My dearest Tabitha, it began in his familiar hand. When you read this, I will be gone. But know that my love for you continues beyond this life. The hardest part of leaving is knowing I won't see your smile or hear your laugh again. That I go peacefully, knowing I've done all I can to protect our family. Remember what I always said about gardening. Sometimes you must prune the diseased branches so the healthy ones can grow. Rebecca was threatening our family tree. By the time you read this, the pruning will be done and healing will have begun. Trust the process, trust Michael, and most of all, trust yourself. You are stronger than you know. Until we meet again, all my love, James. Tears blurred the words as I closed the journal. The swing creaked softly, almost as if James were beside me, nudging it with his foot the way he always had. Grandma? Jacob's small voice pulled me from my thoughts. He stood in the doorway, pajama-clad, his stuffed bear tucked under one arm. Dad said I can stay with you tonight. Is that okay? I wiped my eyes and smiled. Of course, sweetheart. You can sleep in the guest room, or at Nini's. I hesitated. In Grandpa's study. He always said it was the best spot in the house. Jacob's eyes lit up. Really? In Grandpa's special room? Really? He'd like that. After tucking him into the sofa bed, surrounded by James's books and model trains, I paused in the doorway. My grandson's tousled head rested on the same pillow, where James had taken so many afternoon naps. The circle of life continued, even in loss. Michael appeared beside me, watching his son sleep. Thank you, Mom, he whispered. For everything. I leaned against him, drawing quiet strength. Your father would be so proud of you, of all of us. We closed the study door gently and stepped back onto the porch. The night sky was clear, the stars bright, the kind of evening James had always loved. Do you think he knew how it would all turn out? Michael asked, looking up at the constellations his father once taught him to find. I thought of the journal, of James's careful plans, of the love that guided every decision. Yes, I said softly. He knew exactly what he was doing. He always did. Silence settled around us, warm and peaceful. The ache of losing James would never disappear, but it had changed, becoming something steadier and more beautiful. His final act of love wasn't simply a will that ended Rebecca's schemes. It was the path he left for us, a map back to one another. and for that I would always be grateful.